This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to have a great time talking about a subject that really, really interests me. I love all my guests. I love learning, but this one in particular piqued my interest because it is something that I've had some experience with, but not a lot, but it's something that as I said, I'm very interested in. And so now that I've piqued your interest, let me introduce my guest today, Ronan Leonard. So welcome, Ronan.
Deb, thanks for having me on the show, and hopefully I can live up to that brilliant introduction.
You will. And as people can tell, you are not here in the United States, you're in Australia. And so thank you for coming to us from 4,000 miles away. Gotta love technology.
I've also come from the future as well. It's the next day here in Australia.
That's true. It is the next day. Yeah, this gets very confusing. I was wishing somebody in Australia happy birthday the other day, and I didn't know if it was a belated birthday or, but yeah, so the long way away in a future far, far away. That's it. So let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Ronan Leonard teaches self-employed professionals how to better utilize their expertise by helping them to package up and sell the most valuable part of their knowledge. Creating a whole new revenue stream, Ronan has helped hundreds of business owners increase authority, profit, and expertise. Ronan loves seeing the results that mastermind groups have on his clients' business, but also the additional hidden benefits of an increase in both authority and time, because they're delivering to groups of people. So again, Ronan, welcome.
Thank you, Deb.
Well, let's go back in time a little bit and tell us how it is that you decided that this is your passion in life, at least for now.
Well, I previously ran an events business that I scaled from startup, sunk my life savings into it, struggled to figure it all out. Like everybody, there's no 7 steps and there's no simple magic formula, despite what the marketers tell you. And I reached a point where I was looking for the next thing because I'd taken it as far as I could, reached that kind of point where every single business has that bell curve. Where you start out and it reaches that point, and unless you innovate, you kind of die.
Right.
So I joined this program about building a software as a service, just because I was looking to learn and to educate, and is this the right next step for me? And as part of that, they had a mastermind, and it was the very first time when I didn't feel like I was struggling on my own, or I had a sounding board finally where other people had the same problems, fears, doubts, and things that I had. And previously, I'd never had a coach or a mentor. So my poor wife was the one that I'd go home at the end of the day when you've got staff and everything. She was the only sounding board. So it was the first time ever that I'd had that group of other people that admitted they hadn't figured it out, that were struggling, that would open up, and you create that tight-knit community. So it was this light bulb moment for me. I thought, this is amazing. So it took me, I don't like to rush into things. It took me a good 6 months to really figure out, is this worth pursuing? Is this a good idea? Am I a good fit for it? So I went through my why, my purpose, and like everybody, the vast majority of people I know in business are not in it just to make money. That's the kind of side issue. Some people are, that they'll do anything.
But it's nice too. But...
Oh yeah, see, we've got to pay the bills, absolutely, and have an impact. But if it's your sole driving factor, then you're not going to enjoy it, and it's not going to be a great experience. We're there to help other people. That's what we do as business. So it really had to fit into a why. Why am I doing this? And tick off all those boxes, because it's a struggle, as we know. It's hard. It's not easy. There are times when you want to give up. There are times when you're outside your comfort zone, and being dialed into the real reason you're doing this helps you get over that, helps you get to, public speaking or coming on a podcast for the first time. And I had sweaty palms, my first podcast, as you probably did, Deb. So took that time to really understand, is this the right thing for me?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I got into it. And the answer was yes. And then I just went down this rabbit hole of getting, I don't call it passionate about it. I call it obsessed, where you just want to know more and more, and you get excited about learning new things. So that's how I got into Mastermind.
Mm-hmm. And so you started this business called Accountability. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's based on the word accountability. It's one of those things that everybody needs, but nobody wants to pay for.
Right.
So you kind of have to wrap it up in something else, right? Because what happens is that most people that start their own small business are normally good at one particular thing. They might be a good technician, might have these really good sort of subject matter experts, and then they go from being in a corporate world environment where the work's been fed to them, or there are certain parts of the business that they're not comfortable with. And then when you go into your own, you've actually got to master all of them. So what you really have to do is, as a technical expert, you have to be a better businessman. So the best carpenter doesn't run the best business. The best business owner who's a carpenter does. And it's a subtle but huge difference between the two. Because if you don't master, or at least know enough about the other things to outsource to other people, you're never going to really grow your business and have all your expertise is going to be discounted, or isn't really going to have that big impact. So it's about that idea that you can create that accountability with other people in a group, or it's either be in a mastermind or lead one, and get people to, I call it context over content, because we are drowning in information at the moment, right? If you look on public transport, everybody's on their phone. If you go to a restaurant, I had my anniversary this weekend. We went out to a really nice restaurant, and we asked to get moved because the table next to us, there was 5 people, and all 5 of them were on their phone almost the whole time. And this is a very nice, dimly lit, beautiful restaurant. So we have all this information, but we don't have context. So people consume this information and they go, I don't understand how that applies to me. So being in a tight-knit mastermind group allows you to explore the things you don't know. I call it the unknowing economy. So we've moved from the knowing economy to the unknowing, and allows people to ask questions that they might be afraid to. I feel like dumb because I don't know this. But then also, because you're harnessing the group mentality of the mastermind, you've got other people's insights, experience, and knowledge. Now, this can go 2 ways. Some people might say, well, you just get more, you just get the herd mentality. No, not really. You get people that allow you to see things you haven't seen, to question your assumptions, and to potentially come up with a better idea than you thought of on your own. And it doesn't always have to be the mastermind leader. This is the beauty of what I love about mastermind. I don't care where the best idea comes from. I've let go of my ego to say, well, okay, I'm facilitating, I'm running this mastermind. I really don't care where that learning comes from. And just like you and I were talking before we came online, Deb, is that the facilitator and the leader of a mastermind gets to improve as well, because they get new insights, they get fresh understanding, they get fresh learning that they didn't have before. So if you're a subject matter expert, running a mastermind gives you almost free learning from even from your students as you're teaching them.
Right. And you mentioned something in there that I think is one of the key things, is that, when we're in business for ourselves, we are very much alone. And so, in many cases, especially when we're just starting out, and we are expected to know everything, and we can't. I mean, there's just absolutely no way even to know, the basics about business. I can't do my own taxes. I don't want to try and draft a contract. I can tinker with my website, but when I break it, I have to call in the expert. And I think that is one of the hardest things for someone in business, is first to admit that they don't know everything, and then second, to ask for that help. And that is what I love about the concept of a mastermind group.
Yeah, you're so right. I was writing about this just even last week. The level of complexity in business has dramatically escalated. So 20 years ago, a website was that would be nice to have. Now, not only is a website must have, but add on top of that, SEO, Google AdWords, Facebook advertising. Then you've got to look at the design of it, the UI and the UX. And then you possibly need a social media manager. And then finally, if that's not all enough, you might have someone that's a conversion rate expert that says, okay, you're getting all this traffic to your site, but it's not
Now
converting.
what? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a copywriter as well. So you've gone from throwing up a website 15, 20 years ago
Mm-hmm.
to having 7, maybe 10 professionals that specialize just in one aspect of
Mm-hmm.
that website. So it's impossible to be across all of those. But with that expertise it also becomes an opportunity to niche down, to be an expert in one kind of area rather than being a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the mastermind comes in, is that you get to lead a tight-knit group. You've got this expertise that you've spent sometimes years building up, although I'm seeing more and more people kind of skip that, younger generation going, I'm not going to wait for 20 years
Right.
before I
Mm-hmm.
become an expert. I'm just going to lump into it, and I'm 2-3 years ahead of the people. I'm going to run a mastermind. But the point is that you have that expertise and you can lead other people and teach other people just because you give them that context over content. And yes, that ability to say, okay, I haven't got all this all figured out. Let me work with a group of people, because there's 2 types of masterminds. There's an outcome-based one where you say at the end of this period, you will know this. Or there's an ongoing one which is, okay, you've got general business problems, join this community, keep asking questions, keep learning, keep growing, because that subject matter expert or that community is either so complex or there's so much knowledge they can't lead it in that short period of time.
Right.
So either of those will give you that support, either a short fix to say, at the end of this, I will know how to be a public speaker, or I will know how to code in a certain language, whatever it is, that short one, and then or a longer one where it's ongoing, because the reality is our education, as you know, Deb, is always ongoing. We always need to be learning.
Right. Yeah, and it was interesting when I was looking through the materials on your website. I had thought I had been in mastermind groups before, and it was pretty clear that it really wasn't a mastermind group. Sometimes it turned into just a social group, and that's okay. We need that. Or it was a small networking group, and so that was more what we were concerned about. And so define for us really what a mastermind, especially, let's kind of put aside the one that is to learn something specific and then you're done. So let's talk about the long-term type of mastermind group. Define for us what that means.
Well, look, everyone's going to have their own opinion on it. The phrase came from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, which is nearly 90 years old, and it's still relevant today. His definition was when 2 or more minds come together, they create this third super mind to set the better ideas than just one person on their own. For me, a mastermind is that group of people that you get to know, like, and trust. You get to open up, and you get to just talk about the stuff that you haven't figured out. So you don't have to present this. You don't have to go to a network event and go, yeah, how's business? Oh yeah, it's going great.
Right.
Because we've all got challenges, struggles, and things that we want to achieve. Because if we haven't, we've got no ambition, and our business is stagnating and dying. So the idea of a mastermind is to go into a group where you are tackling some of the things you don't know, you're working on your problems, and you're making these commitments that you're going to do something, and the following week or whenever you meet again, you'll come back and say, oh yeah, I completed that. Or if you didn't, you need a good reason why not. So there's that inbuilt accountability.
Right.
Because I know so many people that want to start a mastermind group, but then they go, oh yeah, I'm too busy. Too busy doing probably less important work, less fulfilling work, and less profitable. Because masterminds done right are a way to go from one to one to one to many. Right. So it's the old adage of, it's Abraham Lincoln said, you chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening the saw. So this ability to say, okay, I know this is really important. I know the long-term benefits are far going to outweigh me working on what I'm currently working, but I just don't have the time.
Right.
And it's that commitment of the accountability to say, okay, each week I show up, I've talked about what I'm going to do, and then I actually get it done, because not only do I want to let myself down, I don't want to let other people down.
Right.
So it's building some systems in place that you are growing, you're improving, you're actioning things, instead of just, as you said, sort of having a nice sort of social chat or networking.
Right. And as I said, the groups that I thought were masterminds really weren't. And the big thing that was missing was the accountability. We paid to belong, and we'll talk about that in a second. But so we paid, and so there, and it was not inexpensive. So that was one of the things. It was more than sometimes some chambers, and so there was. I mean, so you kind of had some skin in the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we didn't have accountability. It wasn't. We kind of did. We would say, oh, I want to make it. We would set goals, maybe is more what we did. So we'd set a goal that by X date we would be doing X. Did we report back on that? No. If did we even give status reports on it? No. And so that was the problem. We said, I will make 20 sales calls in the next 30 days, for example.
Yeah.
And then we never ever reported back as to if we had, not only if we'd made those 20 calls, but the results of those 20 calls. And so I think that really was the big thing, that we were just totally missing the accountability part. It was not an attendance required type of thing. And that's always really funny because, I'm kind of one of those where, I'm busy. What if something comes up? And so that just meant I didn't make it a priority. And a true mastermind really should be a priority. Granted, there are sometimes where you might have to miss, but if you were looking for an excuse to miss, then that was really what the problem was. But and it really did, as I said, just evolve into a social get-together. We got together every couple weeks. Somebody bought donuts. And, and we talked about a business topic. Now, that was one of the interesting things. Each person had to give a presentation throughout the year. And, dependent on how many times we met, as to, and the size of the group, as to how many times you presented. So we did have the educational aspects. But even at that, it was like,
it's pretty expensive.
It was sometimes more busy work than anything. And so, as I said, it really wasn't a mastermind group.
Yeah, it's the phrase "working smarter, not harder" gets bandied around all the time, right? Everyone says, "You got to work smarter rather than harder," but it takes a certain sort of either person to sit down and define, okay, what does that mean to me? How do I boil that down into something that's actionable, that's usable, that works for me? And for some people, it might be less social media. For others, as you said, 20 sales calls. 20 sales calls, if you know your conversion rate, okay, one in five are going to convert, great, that's 4 new clients at the end of the month. Surely that is far more of a priority than you going on social media and posting this stuff thinking that maybe somebody's going to buy from that versus actual knowing that the sales calls work. So yeah, getting some of that tough love and helping other people to achieve what they want is a really powerful skill. And yeah, obviously clearly your mastermind leader just didn't have that missing accountability and structure in place to say, I want you to succeed, I really do. So I'm going to give you a bit of tough love. It's like pretty much what you've told me. It's like going to the gym saying I want to lose 10 pounds and then you never weigh yourself at the start and you don't turn up to half the sessions and the gym instructors sat there going, well, I've got their money anyway. That's all right.
Right. Yeah. We don't care if they show up. That's great. And we always had a leader, and we had the leader who was a leader for a year. I'm not sure it was always the best choice. That's always a fun thing. And we did have rules, and some of the rules were things like, this is not a place that we're going to be discussing politics, and then, it was also a networking thing. We were encouraged to refer business to the other members of the group, whether it was that we were giving a referral or actually using them ourselves. It was great when I first moved to Atlanta. That was one of the groups that I got tied into. So this is where I got my insurance. It's where I got my alarm system. It's where I got all sorts of things that it really was perfect. But that was as far as it went, because I think we had set it up as maybe a hybrid of a networking group and a mastermind group. And I think that was what our problem was.
Yeah, neither one nor the other. Yeah, I've been to BNI, and that's great for certain
Hmm.
people, and that's what you want. But the pressure is
Hmm.
on then to refer people,
Hmm.
which you don't really want in a mastermind. You want to
Right.
be able to really open up and
Hmm.
say, uh, in those type of masterminds, I'm really struggling with this. I've got a problem with that.
Hmm.
My numbers aren't what I was kind of anticipating. Not quite sure what to do,
Hmm.
and that vulnerability. You all want to be in that safe space.
Hmm.
So at the same time, you don't want to be saying, "Well, do you want to buy from me?" or "I need a client." That kind of
Hmm.
happens
Right.
organically.
Yeah. If you're saying, gee, I'm having difficulty, then people aren't going to want to buy from you.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to put on a fake
Hmm.
persona, or you don't really truly kind of
Hmm.
open up. But the idea that the mastermind, there is that done right, the collective of the group,
Hmm.
the high level masterminds, people are partly paying to have access to those other people because they're at the point where they're not struggling for their next customer or their
Hmm.
next customer. They're thinking JV opportunities.
Hmm.
Who does he know that can connect me to someone
Right.
that can open up
Hmm.
a new market to me? They're thinking on a different level. So
Hmm.
there is the power in the group
Hmm.
well beyond just the expertise. It's
Hmm.
their network
Hmm.
and working on that. But again, you've got to build up that trust
Hmm.
and that happens. That doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And to me, a single referral. Again, we talk about working smarter, not harder.
Hmm.
Most people go to networking events and go, "Can I find one customer to buy from
Hmm.
me?" I
Right.
go, maybe I can meet someone that I can introduce somebody else,
Hmm.
or potentially we could collaborate on something so that maybe the two of us find 10 customers, or
Hmm.
so that idea of leverage and the power of working smarter, not harder is always at the front of my mind, rather
Hmm.
than me just going to a network event going, can I find just one customer who's going to buy
Right.
from me?
Right. Well, through your business, you have mastermind groups, and it looks like you've got kind of quite a variety of them. But you also show people how to start their own mastermind groups. So talk to us first about how people would participate in your mastermind groups.
Well, the idea is that most people, the subject matter experts, once they've set their business up and they're doing that, they kind of reach this point where especially solopreneurs and small business owners that are in the sort of service professional, it can get quite exhausting chasing new clients.
Hmm.
So you do the work for them and then they're gone. And
Right.
eventually you reach this burnout point where you go, this is exhausting, one-to-one.
Hmm.
I'm teaching the same things again and again.
Hmm.
I'm getting great results, but there's no ability to have a bigger impact, to create that leverage, or to really scale it.
Hmm.
So the phrase that's a little bit derogatory is trading time for money, right?
Hmm.
So we all are in some form or another, but it's that ability to say, look, I'm really good at what I do.
Hmm.
I sometimes the expertise is more valuable to teach other people that want that shortcut, that don't want to
Hmm.
spend the next 5, 10 years learning what they know, and
Hmm.
they can bypass a lot of that and learn, yeah, okay, this works really well. If you tried
Hmm.
this, try that, and breaking it down, almost reverse engineering their expertise and their
Hmm.
secret sauce and their magic, and teaching other people. Now, for some people, that's a little bit confrontational. What they'll say is, well, um, why would I teach my competitors? Why
Hmm.
would I teach my expertise to other people?
Right.
So first off, these people are going to come into the market anyway. Every market is growing. The
Hmm.
second you're an expert at someone, you've figured something out. You're going to look at Uber.
Hmm.
Uber figured something out that the taxi drivers didn't, and then now there's 4 or 5 different ride
Hmm.
sharing apps. They're going to come in regardless.
Right.
So you're in your niche and you're in your industry and you're really good at what you do. You have two options. One is to say, well, um, I'm going to hold back the tide and I'm just going to continue to do what I do, and everyone else is a competitor. Or you say, well, they're coming in anyway. Growth mindset says, I can make money for them. I can teach them the right way.
Hmm.
And also then I'm automatically become an authority because I'm
Hmm.
teaching what I know.
Right.
So it has so many benefits to
Hmm.
say, let's look at what I do, my expertise, and let's see if I can package that up and other people want to pay for that.
Hmm. Right.
And that idea that, yeah, you can become that leader in that industry and teach what you know and
Hmm.
pass it on to others.
Right. So, the mastermind groups that we're talking about in that would be an industry specific type of mastermind. So all marketing people or all salespeople or, all all something that is all the same thing, as opposed to one of this and one of this and one of this and one of this.
Yes, if you've got lots of business acumen and you know how to grow kind of any business,
Mm-hmm.
then yes, you can run that general mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a coach, or I'm somebody that knows business process
Mm-hmm.
and ideas around that, and you can join those dots. Then you run that general mastermind. It doesn't matter whether somebody comes in who is as you said, a copywriter,
Mm-hmm.
or even a tradesperson,
Mm-hmm.
any of those skills. But there is, as we talked about earlier, about the fact that people are getting more and more specialized now, then you want to learn that specialized skill, because that's your niche or your
Mm-hmm.
industry, and therefore teaching people within that industry has that enormous benefit,
Mm-hmm.
that you, as I said, you package up your 5, 10, 15 years experience, and you give that shortcut to people that are just coming into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
that want to learn from you and want to pick your brains and give you, as I said, that context over content. Because sure, you can probably read a blog post about it, you can probably watch a video to certain things, but then people really get stuck and go, how does that apply to me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite understand this bit,
Right.
or I tried that, didn't work. And that ability of someone that's got 5, 10, 15 years experience
Mm-hmm.
to go, oh yes, well, what you need to do is this, or have you thought of
Mm-hmm.
that? And to just turn that content
Mm-hmm.
into context for them, so that they apply that learning and they get it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, those small industry specific masterminds are popping up all
Mm-hmm.
over the place now. It's just becoming this thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I almost think it's like Bitcoin. There were
Mm-hmm.
people who will go in 3 or 4 years time going, man, I wish I got into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And people will say about masterminds,
Mm-hmm.
I've got all this expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not teaching groups of this to
Right.
people and
Right.
packaging it up?
And I understand that some people are thinking, that's my competitors, but I'm one of those people that thinks there is more than enough to go around. Maybe it's, a theory of abundance, or, who knows, or, if there's a real name for it, but, I do believe in helping and learning from people in my industry. I think, that's a great way to do that. Sometimes it's just reinforcing what I already knew. And so then you're like, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. I remember one time not long ago, I contacted someone and asked them to be a guest on this program, and didn't hear anything. And so I sent another note. And, and it was funny because that time I actually got a reply, and I got a rather rude reply.
Right.
And the person said that he had gone to my LinkedIn account, and we did the exact same thing. See, and that's the thing, because none of us do the exact same thing. So that was what immediately put me off. He said, we do the exact same thing. And so he didn't appreciate that I was going to pick his brain. And I
Right.
thought, okay, let's take the high road and respond. And so I responded, and I said, while we both might be in the same industry, I'm very certain that we do things very differently. And so we appeal to different types of people. And I said, I just thought you would appreciate and then I guess I got a little snarky, because I said, I just thought you would appreciate the opportunity to, to reach a bigger audience. And then of course, never heard from him again. But, that's the same thing in like the mastermind, yeah, you might be in the same industry, but you can always learn from someone, or, get reinforced that what you were doing was right, or more importantly, teach someone, and because I think that is, if we get so focused on this is what I do, and I am not going to share that knowledge, then, I don't know. I guess it's counterintuitive to me. And you mentioned, it was when I was reading some of your materials, you mentioned I believe it's your in-laws who had this fabulous business, never passed on that knowledge. And, and then it has gone, and we see that so many times, where we all think, wow, if we'd only had a chance to talk to X, to
Mm.
find out more about what they did. And I mean, there's, things on Facebook that go around all the time. If you had the opportunity to have dinner with one person, who would it be? Just think if you could have a mastermind group of that same thing. If you could have whoever in your group, who would it be? And I'd pick people that do the exact same thing, because that's going to be where I'm going to learn the most.
Yeah, the world is changing at a far bigger
Mhm,
pace than ever before. So if you think you're the subject matter expert, even within your niche, and
mhm,
you've read all the books and you've done it for so long, the world keeps changing. So
right.
to stay relevant,
Mhm,
learning from people that have a different perspective from
mhm,
you, that you are teaching, that you, by osmosis, you'll learn something you didn't
mhm,
know, that things are changing. And for example, let's just use masterminds, right?
mhm,
So the subject matter expert sits there and thinks, I've got it all figured out.
mhm.
Um, I do one-on-one, I have done for the last decade, not knowing that now there is the opportunity to go one-to-many and they've never
Mhm.
heard of a mastermind. You
Right.
go, well, okay, I missed that. So
Mhm,
how many opportunities do you
mhm,
miss? How many
mhm,
um, things are you not picking up on because you're really not investing in
mhm.
yourself as much as
Right,
anything? This
right.
ability to teach other people
Mhm,
allows you, again, we talked about this off air, that you learn from your guests
mhm,
just by interviewing them,
mhm,
right? Because you learn fascinating insights and things you didn't know. And it's the same thing even when you run a mastermind, you'll learn even from your
mhm,
students. They'll teach you things you didn't know, the latest trends. I had this question,
mhm,
I'd never heard that before. I
mhm.
hadn't thought of that, hadn't thought of it in that way. So the world is always changing
Right.
and at a faster rate than ever. So your
Mhm,
ability to stay relevant and up to date
mhm,
and get paid for it
mhm,
is a mastermind.
mhm.
So
Right.
not only do you stay relevant, not only do you continue to be curious about your industry and pick up all those things,
Mhm,
but at the same time, you're getting paid for that. Now,
mhm.
isn't that for some people a dream job,
That
right?
sounds like a pretty cool thing. So
Exactly.
so the concept that you have is that we start our own mastermind group. I was looking at a blog post, and there are people who join groups and people who start groups. And of course, then we can be both. So let's talk about it, because I think, hopefully by now we have convinced everyone that masterminds are a good thing. So they might be able to find one that serves their purpose. They could go to your website. You've got some great ones there. But maybe the best thing is to start your own. So let's really think about this, and talk to us about, how we go about starting our own mastermind group. So are there some basic things that we have to even just start thinking about?
Yeah, the key criteria is to think about what do people always want to pick your brains about?
Okay.
What great results do you get?
Mm-hmm.
So they're the two sort of key ones, and then start to look for just this idea that there are people that are interested in that space
Mm-hmm.
and want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a subtle difference. One of the key things that I teach in the process, we call it an inverted classroom or a flipped classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So provide the content, and then people come in and apply that context.
Oh, okay.
The very, very first pre-mastermind module is to go out and to find out what your audience or your niche really want.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the key thing I say is that you want to teach what people want to learn, not what you
Mm-hmm.
want to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with sometimes subject matter experts, probably myself included to a certain point, is that you go, oh, I've got this information, here it is, let me dump it
Right.
out and
Yes.
this is what I'm going to teach. Only to find out that your audience are asking different questions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, that's not what I want to know. I want to
Mm-hmm.
know this. Okay, great. Let me teach you that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just double checking that there's a big enough pain point, there's a
Mm-hmm.
big enough need for it, and as I said, by doing that, you teach what people want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that small but huge difference,
Mm-hmm.
because it is exactly the same as lean startups.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it, myself included. You start a new business, you've got this, oh, I've got this great idea, it's amazing. And then you plow all your time, effort and money into it, only to realize that nobody wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And what most people tend to do is they all talk about Henry Ford quote, is that Henry Ford said, if I asked people what they wanted faster horses,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's fine. His was a disruption model, right? Nobody really knew about cars, so
Right.
it's a huge disruption model. So
Mm-hmm.
that works for disruption model. But if you're building something that is already based on an existing business, an existing idea,
Mm-hmm.
then you've really got to test the market first, because otherwise you end up building something that's rabbit hole people that don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So the quicker you can get that validation of asking a couple of people, would you pay for this?
Mm-hmm.
Is this valuable to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, why is it? What do you want to learn? What's your biggest problem?
Mm-hmm.
The quicker you can get that market fit for what people actually
Mm-hmm.
want. So that's the core thing that we teach them. Even if you've got 10, 15 years experience, just back up a second and let's just double check that this really is what people want, and give them what they want rather than said what you want to teach them. And that just ensures that they hit the ground running, because the people that I get through these masterminds are already successful business owners. So they've already got customers, they've already got some kind of brand reputation and value. So they've already got people coming in. So it's a very small shift to go from, okay, I can still continue to do what I do, but I can then also teach as well. And my audience might be, okay, 100 people a year might buy my one-on-one service, but maybe only 10 or 15 will buy my one-to-many service. And that's still okay, because you're using that same 100 people and they're going to buy either or. So you're almost marketing to your existing customer base, which again makes the leap from doing one-to-one to one-to-many so small.
Right.
It just requires you to start in that process.
So is it best to have an industry specific mastermind group where, say, everybody is social media, or they all want to talk about, and learn about LinkedIn or marketing or whatever it is? So is industry specific kind of the best way to do this?
Yes and no.
See, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. I talked about earlier, those outcome-based and time-based ones, they work really well for, yes, if you want to know how to get really good at LinkedIn, then we all want to be there together and do that. If you want to learn a specific industry skill, then that works. You're in a mastermind where different diverse groups of people. That also really helps with diversity of thought, that you don't have all social media people talking the same language, talking about the same stuff, reading the same books, and therefore they end up with this kind of groupthink. So if you want to mastermind around growing your business, then that diversity of thought really helps. You might have someone from e-commerce, you might have a marketer, you might have somebody who's a coach. So you might have that diversity of thought. They've all got their own kind of individual goals around growth and improvement and ideas, but they're picking up that really nuanced ideas from people all over the world. And because the world is now really flat compared to what it used to be, you have this opportunity to run a mastermind globally. So you could have somebody from, the US and Australia are different.
Right.
Americans are more gung-ho. Australians are a bit more reserved. I need to think about that. I'm not really sure. So, and the industries change as well within that. So having that ability to get people from all over the world into a mastermind really allows you to work out, okay, this is happening in this space, but not in ours. Why isn't it? That's an opportunity. So you really do have that picking those brains and creating, as Napoleon Hill, that supermind. But as I said, the subtle difference between the two is that for general business growth, diversity as much as possible. If you want to learn a specific tool or outcome or process, then you want industry specific people.
Right. Yeah, it struck me as you were talking about the diversity group that it's almost, and I don't, I've heard people talk about the fact that they have kind of a group of that they consider to be almost a board of directors for their company. So, they have an accountant, they have an attorney, they have a marketing person, they have somebody from all the different fields. And then it is kind of like your own board of directors. You're going to manage that obviously very differently than a mastermind group, but in some ways it is the same thing. That is where maybe the group think is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've specifically got those areas of expertise and you chunk them down, then yes. Interesting enough, I believe accountants could do this really well, because to me, accountants are being disrupted. We're all being disrupted, but accountants more than others, with the likes of Xero and the software coming in AI. A lot of their sort of basic work is being done.
Right.
But they have this network of people that really trust them. Right? Accountants are high trust, whereas most people who sell financial services, low trust, right? Because they're selling on commission. So accountants have this unique opportunity where they can say, let me create something like a board of directors where you come in, I know your numbers, but for the next 12 months, I'll plug you in with, I've got a guy who's social media, I've got a guy who's a lawyer, and let's just make sure that your whole year is planned out with this kind of board of directors. So it's not just the accountant, but he has access to all those people, and he runs those networks.
Right.
And anything like, there are now fractional CFOs. So there are people that used to be a CFO for one company, and now they package up their services and they sell that to.
Right. They're 10% here, 10% here.
Yeah. So the idea that you could do that for as a board of directors, absolutely. Why not?
Right. So, now we've got the basic idea of what it is that we're looking for. I'm assuming that we actually need to create rules, set expectations, and because if somebody says, hey, do you want to be a part of this, that we might meet on Thursdays? Maybe, if it's too vague, I'm not going to want to be a part of it, because more than likely I won't take it seriously. I'm like, yeah, right. So is it important that there is a structure to it?
Yeah, absolutely. You get what you tolerate, and structure kind of sets us free. We're all afraid of the unknown, right? Everybody in business, I don't know this, I don't know that, until you know. So we're afraid of the unknown. So having that structure and having the leader and the facilitator create what they want is really important, because you get what you tolerate. If you just say, yeah, turn up whenever, or if you just say, oh, it doesn't matter that you didn't do that, then you're setting the tone from the outset, A, for people to fail, and B, for people to not really invest in that. So yeah, not enough skin in the game, and not enough of a structure around exactly what the outcome should be, and what's accepted and what isn't. And interestingly enough, even when I teach the Mastermind process, I get people to create their own kind of manifesto. What do they believe in? What are they looking for? What's their kind of core values that they can put into a manifesto? So for small business owners, they can live and breathe that. Big corporations have this great big, mission statement that, we know for the most part, they never ever live up to.
It's just on the wall somewhere, and that's,
Just on the wall, and it's like greenwashing. It's there for you can trot it out at press conferences, but they don't live it. But small business owners have that unique opportunity to really live their values, to really instill their values when they're teaching in the Mastermind, and really say, this is what I believe in. It's here down. Let me just spend some time to think about it, put it down on paper, communicate that to everybody, and say, this is what's accepted of you. And as I said, you get what you tolerate, because if you then just go, well, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I know some masterminds where they go, you miss more than 2, you're out. I'm not really so interested in your dollars. I'm interested in your commitment.
Right.
Because for some people, you talked about it, you're paying for this group, and it wasn't really working for you. And so for some people, the money is really important. For others, it's far more important to say, I just want people that are committed, that show up, that are going to do the work, and that are going to lift up everybody, rather than just taking your money.
Right.
So you set your own expectations.
Yeah. And as much as I dislike the concept of required attendance, I do understand its importance. And it's a matter of, it's on your calendar, you don't schedule meetings around it. Again, there are things that come up. If your big customer says, I need to talk to you on Thursday at 2, and that's normally when your mastermind group is, well, you go and you talk to the big customer. But if it's just, good example, I'm part of a group that meets every, what is today, Tuesday at 2:00. I slept through it today. I really did. I slept through it. And it's a great group. I get a ton out of it, but for what now, granted, maybe I needed to nap. That might just be the thing, but somehow there wasn't that commitment in there to do that. And, so that, we do need to have that accountability, back to that word of saying, you have to be here. You miss X number of times without a really good excuse, and you're done. And sometimes it doesn't matter. They could have paid $10,000. They'll still find a way to not be there. So I think it's kind of that combination.
Do you pay for that group, Deb, the one you missed today?
I do.
You do? Okay.
I do. you know, and but obviously not enough for me to have said, oh my gosh, I have to set an alarm and wake up. You know, and yeah, I mean, and I don't miss it all that often. You know,
Yeah.
and so, but it's, you know, and it's a good group and I really enjoy it. But yeah, it was just like, wow, it's 2:30 and I slept through it. But that does bring me to that question. Do we pay? You know, and is there a price point where people are going to ignore it or find something better that comes up? And, you know, the one that's, I made this financial commitment, I need to do this.
Look, absolutely, I believe we should pay
Hmm.
because we value what we pay for.
Right.
The second you say it's free,
Hmm.
instantly people go, well, it's not a
Hey, I'm
value.
going to take a nap.
Yeah. It's like all those webinars,
Hmm.
webinars used to be all the rage, and
Hmm.
then most people know, well, it's free, but
Hmm.
I got to be sold to.
Hmm.
So whenever you hear the word free, you do have to say, well, okay, well, it's at some stage.
Somewhere there's a sales pitch in there.
Yeah. There's
Hmm.
other sales pitch. I mean,
Hmm.
myself, I do have, so interesting enough, I do have a free section on my site
Hmm.
for some of the tools and some of the
Hmm.
techniques I teach in a mastermind.
Right.
To be honest, and I can put the link in here, 90% of the people, because it's through Thinkific,
Hmm.
I see the percentage of people who
Hmm.
complete it. 90% of people don't complete it.
Hmm.
Right?
Right.
They're interested, they're excited, and
Hmm.
it's the same number with paid courses. People buy paid courses these days
Hmm.
and they don't complete them.
Hmm.
Because there's no one there to give them that
Hmm.
context over content.
Right.
Um, so um, so even when you pay, sometimes people still don't
Hmm.
either value it or complete it.
Hmm.
And I think we're in this kind of society now where um, we throw away things, but I think we also throw away information.
Hmm.
To me personally, to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on a course and then not complete it um, offends my sensibilities
Hmm.
of myself for going,
Hmm.
well, how can I not do the
Right.
work and complete it?
Hmm.
Whether I action it, whether it's the right thing for me, I
Hmm.
don't know. But how can I not do that?
Hmm.
But so in answer to your question, yes, people should charge because
Hmm.
people value what they pay for. It's nice to be altruistic and go, I'd love to give back. I want to have this bigger impact. This is all free.
Hmm.
But yeah, you lose that ability for people to pay
Hmm.
and to really value what people do.
Right.
The price point really is dependent on the value you're providing, the expertise you've got, your authority. So it's all of those things. Price is a very, very rubbery and intangible thing, right? Why
Hmm.
does someone charge $5,000 and charge 500? What seems like the
Right.
same service?
Right.
And we cover this off in the program. Actually, is how to sort of get your prices right at the
Hmm.
start. But then also one of the key things that I believe in is that if you're doing a really good job and people tell you all that, you keep putting your prices up until
Hmm.
someone starts saying, oh, actually,
Right.
that's a bit
When
expensive.
they say ouch.
Yeah, and they say,
Hmm.
ouch, yeah.
Hmm.
And people attach, the more they pay, the more they value something.
Hmm.
So it's, if you can buy $100,000 Porsche, you absolutely love it. If you
Right.
buy a $1,000 Honda, you go,
Hmm.
nah, yeah,
Yeah, it's okay if it gets
yeah.
dinged. Hmm.
But I paid this much for the Porsche. I love it. It's
Hmm.
my pride and joy. So attaching that
Hmm.
dollar value to something
Hmm.
and giving that intrinsic value to it is a little bit nebulous.
Hmm.
But yeah, you just got to work out your pricing
Hmm.
points.
Right. Well, and you know that group that I mentioned that, you know, evolved into the social group, and then we eventually disbanded. You know, like I said, it was several $100s a year. You know, and for a small business owner, I mean, that was kind of a chunk of change. But then,
Yeah.
of course, it was what happens with that money. You know, and so and you know, we built it into the structure of the organization. There was a small fee that we had to pay where we were meeting. You know, and so, you know, that was obviously included in that. But then we did scholarships. And, you know, and so that was a great way that we really felt that we could give back. And so it was scholarships and donations to nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it was funny, you know, people might not attend, but when we went to give out the checks, people were always there. You know, and so that was always fun. But, you know, that way, we weren't just putting the money in an account somewhere, and people really felt good about the fact that we funded various things, and so, for people that are thinking, well, what about the money? Now, granted, you might be doing these masterminds as part of your business, therefore it's revenue, and so that's very different. But yeah, if it's a group that you're just kind of, managing, scholarships and donations might be a way to give back to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm part of LinkedIn Local here in Melbourne,
Hmm.
and all the money that we raise from there, there's 6 of us on the committee, and we
Hmm.
don't make any money for that, but we
Hmm.
organize it, and so that all goes to charity.
Hmm.
It ties back into earlier when I talked about manifesto, but also your why and your mission and your
Hmm.
purpose.
Right.
So people who have certain level of business success are often looking not just for more
Hmm.
money, they're looking for a bigger
Right.
impact. And a mastermind is a way to do that, to have that bigger impact,
Hmm.
is to lead other people,
Hmm.
is to teach, is to grow people, is to create community,
Hmm.
tribe, whatever you want to call it, and have that bigger impact
Hmm.
rather than just saying, as you said, you talked about that person with the fixed mindset that just went, okay, you're my competitor, I'm not going to get on your show.
Hmm.
Whereas a lot of other people really understand when they're in the industry and their expertise, they're kind of looking for that next step. What's my
Hmm.
bigger purpose? What's
Right.
my impact I want to have? And that's paying it forward, that's teaching other
Hmm.
people. That might be, as you said, partly a profit, a charity donation. Um, I had the same thing where 1 in 6 people come through our masterminds, I wanted to have them from a social enterprise to
Mm.
pay it forward, to share
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
knowledge. So this idea that you can create a community around your expertise, helping other people, getting paid for it, but then also adding some kind of altruistic
Hmm.
or social enterprise to it. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a
Right.
great idea.
Right. Okay, so we've got this great idea. We know what we're going to do. How do we find people to be part of our mastermind group?
Well, as I said, for most people that are already in business, it's such a small leap to go, I've got a website, I've got my network. One of the things I talk about is this idea that it's symbolic capital.
Hmm.
You heard of this? So there's capital you can spend. There's money in the bank. I've got shares. I've
Hmm.
got property. I can see that. I can touch that. I can cash that out. And then you've got symbolic capital, which is your network, your experience, your intellectual property, your expertise, all of those things. And can you turn that into real money? Well, for the people that have invested in time and relationships and have great customers, absolutely.
Hmm.
You go back to your existing customers and say, hey, we did this before, but I'm now offering this service where I go deeper into something else. Are you
Hmm.
interested? Yeah, I'd love to be part of that.
Hmm.
That's new. It's exciting. That's great.
Hmm.
So this idea that you can turn this symbolic capital, which sounds a bit woo-woo, into real dollars is absolutely true. Because you've
Hmm.
only just got to Google your, if you Google your niche and the word mastermind, you'll probably find that there's already something doing that.
Hmm.
That's not to say that no one else will do that,
Right.
because there's not going to be just one restaurant. You go
Hmm.
down to your local high street, there's not
Hmm.
just one restaurant. And the next restaurant owner says, oh, there's already one, not going to
Hmm.
do it. You've got different perspectives, you've got
Hmm.
different ideas, and it's a global market, so you have
Hmm.
that opportunity to do that. But
Right.
yeah, in answer to your question, absolutely, there is that very easy leap from
Hmm.
being subject matter expert to being mastermind leader.
Hmm. Is there a good group size? I'm assuming that, even with just, a very small number, you can accomplish a lot, but is there too many people?
Yeah, it's a good question. I recommend around about 6 to 8 people for
Okay.
the online ones, just because you want people to be heard, understood. You want
Hmm.
to hear from everybody in that group, and they've all got different sort of questions, so that's fine. The bigger ones, it tends to be more educational when you get up
Hmm.
to sort of online and you've got
Right.
a meeting or Zoom. That tends to be more delivering content, which then doesn't really border on a mastermind. If
Hmm.
there's 30 people,
That's a
30 people can
training.
ask a question. Yeah. So to me, there's bigger groups.
Hmm.
That's delivering content.
Hmm.
That's not a mastermind where the
Hmm.
participants get to say, well, what about this? Or I've
Hmm.
got this. And where do they even get a chance to then have that accountability and say,
Hmm.
this is what I did this week? You can't have 30 people or 40 people saying, oh, this week I worked on this week I got stuck on that. So
Hmm.
I think those bigger groups lack accountability, and they then become,
Hmm.
this is me delivering content to you.
Right. Right. Or it turns into more of the networking group where you're just going around and, giving your little spiel, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you struggle to create those deep bonds with
Hmm.
such a big group of people.
Right. Right. Well, we've only got a couple minutes left. And so, what are some other things that we need to think about if we're going to form our own mastermind groups?
I think you've covered off most of them. You've done a great job. It really is, do I have something of value that other people want?
Hmm.
And am I interested in creating some kind of bigger impact or legacy?
Hmm.
So they're the kind of two things I look for my key avatar, the person that I think is most likely to lead a mastermind. Because
Hmm.
it's not for everybody. You have to be willing
Right.
to kind of step up, become a bit of
Hmm.
a leader. But the the value and the reward for it for stepping outside your comfort zone and saying, look, I'll become this leader
Hmm.
is huge. It's the ability to become an expert in your authority
Hmm.
and become that kind of leader, to gain that extra revenue, to give yourself a bit of freedom from
Hmm.
working one-to-one. So there's that huge opportunity for people to do that if they're willing to do a little bit of work and
Hmm.
step up and say, look, I would love to teach other people. I would love to be that person that's known for this expertise.
Hmm. Right. And again, I love that technology is, as you mentioned before, it's allowing us to expand literally worldwide. And to find people that are a great part of a mastermind group, not just in your local community, but anywhere around the world. Great example is Zoom, like we're using here. And it's
Yeah,
just one of several technologies that are available where you can have multiple participants. There might be a fee. That's always one of the things to keep in mind as you're setting things up. If you're going to have multiple people, all sorts of things like that. And so then, this is kind of one of the things to keep in mind when you're pricing things. But, I would think it would be so cool to be a member of a mastermind group that has people worldwide. I mean, that just, so hello, anybody want to pick me? I'll be in your mastermind group. Um, I think it's just that really, to me, is just, that's where we're going to get the knowledge. I
yeah,
love meeting with people that are here in my local community. Granted, Atlanta's pretty good size. But yeah, the ability that I could have someone from Australia, someone from, the Netherlands, someone from, South Africa, wherever, as part of a mastermind group. I mean, that's just what really fascinates me about this.
yeah. That really is tapping into the mastermind and
Hmm.
using those other people's knowledge, ideas, experience,
Hmm.
expertise, different viewpoints, different backgrounds, and yeah, that is that true idea of the
Hmm.
melting mind where we all come in together and we create this super mind. So,
Hmm.
Deb, I'm with you. Technology allows that these days,
Hmm.
which is why we are talking from two different continents. So,
Two different
absolutely,
days. That's it.
yeah.
Well, and it is, the cool thing is all of the different business perspectives. That would be what would fascinate me. How do you do business in your country? How do you do business in your country? Women-owned business. There's certainly going to be a lot of education, and things that can be learned, especially with women-owned businesses, small businesses, when you're dealing with countries that, that's not something that is commonly done. And so, yeah, just to get all that, this really is what fascinates me about it.
Yeah, we briefly touched on it earlier. You asked that question. I said the ability to know what's happening in other countries and to learn faster. And I'll give you a great example. So
Hmm.
when SARS broke out,
Hmm.
they crowdsourced all these people from around the
Hmm.
world, and they solved what that virus was
Hmm.
in a fraction of the time that anybody would in their silos.
Right.
So they used effectively a mastermind to do that.
Hmm.
The ability to go, I've got this expert here in a different country,
Hmm.
got the US, got the UK, got a couple of other countries. They all
Hmm.
came together and iterated and
Hmm.
found the solutions out really quickly.
Right.
So the same as in business, yeah, the ability to go, okay, well, let's get your fresh perspective on it. If
Hmm.
you're in, say, in HR,
Hmm.
to find out what's happening in other countries
Right.
with HR and to become that
Hmm.
mastermind leader of HR practices and
Hmm.
knowledge is an incredibly valuable
Hmm.
tool where people just learn quicker.
Right. I love it. Well, oh my gosh, Ronan, we are at the top of the hour, and this has been so much fun. I can't wait to try and, put my head around, do I need to be a part of a mastermind group? Do I want to start my own? And you have really great information on your website. So tell us about your website and how you can help people.
Sure. The website is www.accountability.io. I do have, as I said, that 3 parts on there just around some of the concepts and ideas that I teach to give people a bit of a snippet. If you sign up, please actually complete it, because knowledge doesn't happen until something changes, right? So you've got to go through and do that. And then also, if you want to contact me, I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's a great platform just to again, share ideas, collaborate, network with people. So I'm on LinkedIn as Ronan Leonard, the Mastermind Guy.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I can't wait to talk with you again, because I do think that this it's such a fun subject, and I want to learn more about it. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Just the idea that there is far more out there, and there's far more to you. So we talked about kind of knowledge and not knowing. And one of the things that I say is that we've changed from the knowledge economy to the not knowing economy. And that's okay. So all you need to do is kind of let go and embrace that and say, I haven't got it all figured out. Let me connect to other people that have got different perspective, that have something that I don't know, and just to continue to be curious and to learn. And if you do that, you won't go far wrong.
Right. I love it. Well, I've been having an absolutely wonderful time talking with Ronan Leonard, learning about masterminds. And again, it's eaccountability.io, not .com, .io. And so please, check that out, because there is a lot of great information there. I am Deb Creer. As I said, I've been talking with Ronan Leonard. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us next time for more real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
You've been listening to C-Suite Radio. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.